NITI Aayog. With a distinguished career spanning banking, investment promotion and policy leadership, Mr. Bagla brings a unique blend of strategic insight and operational excellence to this pivotal role. Formerly the Managing Director and CEO of Invest India, he played a transformative role in making India a global investment destination and championing initiatives like Startup India and One District, One Product. Under his leadership, Invest India earned global recognition as the world's most awarded investment promotion agency. As Mission Director of Atal Innovation, Mr. Bagla leads India's flagship innovation and entrepreneurship initiative at a critical juncture, driving inclusive growth and positioning India at the forefront of global innovation, aligned with the Honorable Minister's vision of a developed and innovative India. And I think innovation is the key for India to go ahead if we want to become Viksit and if we want to become Vishwa Guru. I think that is something that needs to happen at a much faster pace. So let us hear from him as to what has he got to say. Mr. Bagla.
Thank you, Rajiv. You left your phone here. Good evening. It feels good to be back home. And I'll tell you why I say that. But before that, Ma'am Pooja, always good to see you. I remember we spent some time when there was a senior state level visit to Denmark, and she did a remarkable job in steering all of us to work on that one. And Raman is the 23rd. Big one. Well done. And Sanjeev, my senior, I must tell you, I've got two seniors from college here, so I've been properly behaved in front of them. And I was telling you why it's a pleasure to be back home, because this association has been very long. My previous lifetime, the lifetime before that, was as a private equity person. And my co-sponsor at that time was 3i, the British, UK private equity fund. And at that point of time is when we joined the EBG. So it's over now a decade. And that's why I say they're old friends, they're good friends, they're all familiar faces. Sir is here, who was there from the banking world. Mr. Agarwal is there, whom I worked very closely at one point of time, and many others. So it's always good to be back here. Raman, if I may take the liberty of saying, I haven't gone through the report, but I read your speech, which you said. Now this has 17 verticals. I remember when we were in Invest India, it's definitely one of our biggest areas, and at that time we had interaction across 23 sectors. It had grown from 14 to 23 sectors during a short period of time from 2015 to what I would say would be around 2022. So it's an association which goes back, and if I look at it, it's probably the oldest association we have as a trade partner, if I may remember right. We've got a few sections. I don't remember exactly sections, but somewhere there. For what I will allude to this point, I'll come back later, and that is what we call was the defining decade, and is the defining decade of India when I look at 2014 to 24. And that's where we've seen these remarkable changes. But I must tell you, today I'm day 114 in this job. I didn't know what it was when I joined. I remember when Mr. Kant got to know, and this was about a week before I took over, he called me and said, "Bahut kaam hai isme. Or you bahut bada hai." So I told him, "Sir, I'll take time and come and understand what it is." But let me give you one instance for what it is in my day 114. We wanted to check what is the power of this platform. This platform was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister in 2014. And his view was to make this the entity which is going to be responsible to bring innovation, to identify areas, to create that ecosystem wherever there are gaps, to fill that in, and to take it forward. Today it is the world's largest grassroots innovation mission. From school to space. And I'll tell you what happened. I thought I'd just understand what this platform is about and how powerful it is. So about a month ago, I asked the team, let's run a hackathon. And they told me it's not a good time because pre-boards ho rahe hain, bachchon ki tayari ho rahi hogi, Diwali vacations have come in already. Let's do it later. I said, well, let's try and do it anyway. The hackathon was announced. I don't think many of you know about it because there was no advertising. Just a little on the social media, we reached out to schools. I'm just trying to tell you, yesterday the hackathon was closed when all the registrations had to come in. I just got this. Let me tell you what this was about. 343,222 schools registered. 985,386 teachers registered. 2.48 million students have registered, and already the prototypes which have come in are 218,561. The Guinness Book of World Records is stating this to be the world's largest hackathon. And I'll tell you what really got to me. Over the weekend on the Saturday, I was sitting in my puja. I got a call 3 times and I had the phone next to me. I didn't answer it. It was an unknown call. I finished the puja. I called back that number. It was a young kid from Bhiwandi. He was a 9th standard student who found my number. Look at it, the way these kids can do it, new generation. Who called me and said he was from a small government school there, near a village. He said, sir, मेरी problem ये है कि मेरे पास 3 idea है, मेरा teacher कह रहा है कि सिर्फ एक दे सकता है. You know guys, this is a movement which is taking place in India today. This movement is bottom up. It's been driven and led by an idea of a person who brought it in. But this movement is the one which is now going to define India. And let me just tell you, last week, 4 kids from a small government school in South India were shortlisted and went to Panama for the Global Robotics Championship. They were shortlisted from India. They came from very humble beginnings. Parents is a housekeeper in a hotel. Very few of them knew how to speak English. They didn't have money for the ticket. They were in Panama. They are solving solutions which are at a completely different level. And the reason why I bring that is that of your 17 verticals, the one we need to add is the vertical of innovation. Innovation is now the new bridge which is going to bring EU and the rest of the world close to us, and we to them. I'll give you an example of what we are. Today we have these small little tinkering labs, we call them, innovation labs, in 10,000 schools. Many of you in this room have partnered with us to create those. About half of them are in a government school, half of them are in a private school. We are now adding 50,000 new schools in the next 24 months. This mission already is one of the single largest owners of incubators in the world, but I'll tell you what I liked about our incubators. Out of the 72, 73, 14 of them are in small towns and cities. They're not looking to be listed on a stock exchange and become a unicorn in financial terms. They are working to become a unicorn in social terms. They want to touch 1 billion lives. And they're running some amazing things there, because I know one which was in South India near Udupi, and one of the examples they brought to us was this incubator which is incubating their local people working with the women's self-help group. You know, the jackfruit. It's supposed to be a wonderful now. And it's very interesting that if for the first 45 days you can use the pulp of the jackfruit as the vegetarian meat, from 45 to 60 days we use the bulb and the seeds, and those bulb and seeds are very good for blood sugar in your heart. Did any of you know that? You did. Now you know what they're doing. There is this young little kid from there who's come up with a small little device which is run through an AI, which is on the jackfruit tree and tells you which day you can pluck it for what. It has changed the lives of the women around that place. You know what they're doing now? They're taking it, they're bottling it, they're marketing it, and it is now one of the fastest increasing export products out of India. It is amazing the kind of work which is happening here. And the interesting thing, it is coming from every small little village, town, city of India. From school to space. This is where this mission is working. And I mentioned to you about the defining decade. I'll come back to that, because that is what happened at one of, it was not just you, but it was a number of other investors. And I remember we had gone to Davos 3 years ago, and there was a round table of 18 global investors. And I mentioned this earlier. These were private equity large investors. And one of them had said that they're going to do a 2x of their investment in India in the next 24 months. And the other one asked him why. And this private equity fund is already in 23 countries. And he said it's the only country where every tomorrow is better than today. And this defining decade, which I bring to you from 2014 to 24, is not just about your GDP. It's not just about moving from number 11 to number 5, and in the next 6 months moving to number 4, in the next 14 months maybe moving to number 3. I think it is more than that. And this was a discussion which was happening at one of the European ambassadors' place, and they were asked to define India in 3 terms, 3 words. And the words which came out to be were resolute, resilient, relentless. A resolute leader, a resilient nation, and both working with a relentless leader. And you know, in a world which we are moving into, where everything is possible but nothing is certain. Think about that statement for a minute. Everything is possible, nothing is certain. And in that world, when you live in that level of uncertainty, the only thing that stays with you is resolute, resilient, relentless. And I think every investor has picked up on those 3 elements, where they're looking at India to see where their future lies. And add to that what I spoke to you about, my youngsters in my activation. And we are having some very interesting partnerships. How much time do I have? 5 minutes? I'm going to say it's time. That's his polite way of saying it's time to move for dinner. But I'll tell you one last thing. And let me leave you with an example. Sanjeev spoke to you about the digitization. And to my mind, that is one biggest factor in our history in the past 3,000 years, which has brought us to this point where we are now looking to be the next superpower. But I'll give you a small little element, and this is why I'm giving it to you, because all the work there are from the world business. The magic of India is the magic of cost curves. What do I mean by cost curves? Whenever we have the scale, because of which the price drops dramatically, look at your data, you're looking at anything. I'll give you one instance, and since you're from Standard Chartered, and since you're a banker, let me share that. I remember when I was in banking, and I left banking in 2007, but I think all the way up to 2015. The core element of banking and anything which you do, even when you buy from Flipkart, there's somebody which does a KYC on you and quickly comes back to you to give you an OTP, right? It takes a few seconds before you do it. The core element of everything which you can take forward is a KYC, know your client. In 2014-13, the cost of doing a KYC, you want to take a guess? What was it? So it was 1,250 rupees to do a KYC. You were right. And 2007 when I left banking, it was 2,000 rupees. You know what is the cost today in India? 15 paise. Are you understanding the way things are changing around us? Do you see the power of that KYC, what it is going to unleash in our daily life? You can lend to an MSME, you can borrow, you can even lend to each other based on the KYC if there's a platform. The power of that cost curve, you brought it down to 15%. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now just nearing our inflection point. And what is that inflection point? This is my last one before you get impatient. Look at when did we start hearing of China? 2008, 2009. That's when we started talking more and more about it. It was right in the center of the plate. Why did that happen? From 2008 until 2016, China added $1 trillion to its GDP every year. You know that big inflection point? That came in well. We had a GDP in 2014 of about $2.5 trillion. From 2014 to now, our GDP today is $4.5 trillion. In $2 trillion, we moved 250 million people above the poverty line. Your 4th trillion you will have by next year, which is about 4.5 years since the 3rd trillion. Your 5th trillion will be in 3 years. Your 6th trillion will be in 2.5 years. Your 8th trillion on, you will do 1 trillion every year. You will all be alive in this room to see that inflection point when it takes off. And at that time, remember, the one who will really take it on are my young kids from the Aayog Innovation Mission. So if any of you want to join hands with us and see a part and be a part of the biggest change which has ever happened on human earth, let's do it together. Thank you.
Deepak, that was wonderful. On a lighter note, even the witches in Macbeth had some sort of a vision. Those 3 words you used, one of them was residue. When they said, Macbeth, 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 be bloody more than residue.
So thank you so much. I think Deepak has that art of bringing hope to everybody. I am sure there is as much happening in the Atal Innovation Mission that you've talked about. Of course, I am somehow many times super critical about our education system, but we'll leave it to some other time. I think it is good that we are looking at some of these things. Atal Tinkering Labs, I think, came up about 8-10 years back when they started coming into schools. We have children who might have used all of these things where they do things with their hands. But somehow in our education system, we even try to game that. We'll have to probably create a narrative which is very different. Deepak, I think that is something that we need to do as well on the education front. So thank you so much for that enlightening words that you shared with us. I would like to now call Mr. Sanjay Rishwood, CEO and Resident Director, Getzner and board member EBG, and Rishi Chawla, Vice President Corporate Affairs, Carlsberg, Asia, for felicitating Mr. Deepak Bagla. And now I think